Today I'm going to review the EXO-TECH from Scorpion extensively. I probably don't need to tell you anymore, but we have sent our rider back on the road again and he came back with a lot of interesting data, so keep on watching. Hi everyone, my name is Liv from Champion Helmets and welcome to our channel. Today we are going to talk about the EXO-TECH. The EXO-TECH comes in two versions, namely the EXO-TECH Carbon and the normal EXO-TECH. Today we are going to review the EXO-TECH Carbon. Before we start, don't forget to subscribe on our channel to stay up to date on all of our reviews, road tests and guides. While you're at it, hit that like button right away and let us know in the comments what you think of this video. Okay. First, let's start with some general points first. The EXO-TECH Carbon is a modular helmet from the Scorpion brand. The helmet comes with a chin guard which ensures better safety. In addition, the EXO-TECH Carbon comes with an EXOCOM bracket. With this bracket you can equip the helmet with Scorpion's EXOCOM communication system. This system is not supplied as standard, so you will have to purchase it separately. The helmet is PJ certified, which means that it is also approved as an open face helmet. As a result, you can ride up with the chin guard open. Sometimes we get customers in the showroom who think that you can ride open with any modular helmet, but this is absolutely not the case. A helmet must be PJ certified if you want to be able to ride with it open. PJ certification is generally seen on the better modular helmets. Scorpion's EXO-TECH has a Quick C inner liner. The liner is removable, washable, antibacterial and it has moisture wicking properties. The lining also has quick fit cheek patch which makes the helmet glasses friendly. The Scorpion EXO-TECH Carbon has a starting price of €1,440 or around $500 US. It will compete with the Shoei Neotech 2, the Schubert C5, the AGV Tour Modular, the HGC Alpha 90S Carbon and a number of other helmets in the top segment. These helmets will all be discussed later in the review and the road test when we compare the helmets with each other. Okay, great. Now that we know this, we continue with the first part of our review, namely the material. The EXO-TECH is made of carbon. Carbon is the best material a helmet can be made of, so we like to see a shell that is completely made of carbon. It is unfortunate to see that the helmet comes in only 2 shell sizes. Our preference is always for a shell that has at least 3 shell sizes. This not only makes the helmet safer, but it's also more comfortable and it looks nicer. Because the helmet is made of carbon, but still comes in only 2 scale sizes, the helmet gets a neat score of 3.5 stars for its material. Now let's see how it compares to its competitors. If we look at its competitors, we see that the Scorpion EXO-TECH scores average. The AGV Sport Modular and the X-Lite Ultra Carbon comes out best in this part. This is because the helmets are made entirely of carbon and have 3 shell sizes. The Shark Evo GT and the Nolan N105 Plus scores 2.5 stars and have the lowest score. This is because both helmets are made of polycarbonate and comes in only 2 shell sizes. All in all, the EXO-TECH scores well on the material component. Now let's see what this means in terms of weight. Of course you want a helmet to be as light as possible. This gives a nice riding experience and it prevents fatigue in the neck. Scorpion claims to have introduced a lightweight helmet on the market with the EXO-TECH Carbon. Now let's see if this is true. If we weigh the Scorpion EXO-TECH Carbon in a size M, the scale indicates 1535 grams. But how good is this? Let's take a look at its competitors to find out. If we put all competitors together, we see that the EXO-TECH scores excellently. In this part, the EXO-TECH only has to leave the AGV Sport Modular and the HGC Alpha 90S in front. The AGV Sport Modular really stands out in this part because of its carbon shell. It weighs only 1341 grams, making it by far the lightest modular helmet we have ever weighed. Later in this review, you can see that the helmet is also a lot more expensive. But for now, we only look at the weight, and then this is particularly strong of the AGV Sport Modular. All in all, the Scorpion EXO-TECH scores well and gets an excellent score of 4 stars. Okay, we have arrived at the next important aspect of a helmet, namely the visor. To see how the helmet scores on its visor, we ask ourselves questions such as: is the helmet pinlock prepared and does it come standard with a pinlock lens in the box? How is the quality of the visor mechanism? Is it a simple lever or an advanced spring mechanism? Does it come with an integrated solar visor? Etc. The EXO-TECH Carbon is pinlock prepared and can be expanded with a Max Vision pinlock lens. This is also included as standard in the box, which is absolutely top notch. The helmet also features an integrated speed view sun visor, which is nice when riding with a bright sun. If we look at the visor mechanism, we see that it is solidly made. It is less advanced than what we see on the showy EXO-TECH 2, but it's still well made. What is also special about this helmet is that it is the only one of its competitors to come in standard with a dark second visor in the box, so Scorpion does that excellently. If we add all this together, the Scorpion EXO-TECH scores an excellent score of 5 stars for its visors. Now let's see how the competition is doing on this part. If we look at the competitors, we see that the EXO-TECH together with the showy EXO-TECH 2 is at the top of the list. The EXO-TECH 2 does not have an extra visor, but the advanced visor mechanism has been made extremely well, and in all the years that we have been selling this helmet, we hardly received a warranty cost back. Both helmets have been awarded with a full 5 stars for their top quality visors. The other competitors are also absolutely not much inferior. In fact, apart from the roof boxer, we see no outliers in this section. The roof boxer has unfortunately only earned 1 star in this section. The helmet is very poorly equipped with a weak visor mechanism, not pinlock prepared, and also no lens in the box, so a bit disappointing. So much for the review in the studio. Now let's see how the helmet performs on the roads. Before we start with the road test, a brief explanation on how we collect our data. On the left you see a white thermometer that shows the inside temperature in the helmet. It is connected to a sensor in the helmet. At the top in the middle you can see a decibel meter, which is connected to a microphone that is placed near our rider's ear. This registers the sound as our rider hears it. On the right we see a phone that displays the wind speed and the outside temperature. This is connected to an anemometer that is mounted on our bike. In the middle you can see the dashboard of the bike with the speed of our rider on it. Okay, nice! Now that that's clear, we start today's road test with the noise isolation. Good to know is that modular helmets are often noisier than full face helmets. This is because they have cracks and seams at the chin guard. Along these cracks, wind and sound enter the helmet. However, at the same time we see that modular helmets are becoming quieter and quieter. In terms of noise isolation, the EXO-TECH gave us an average of 103 decibels at a wind speed of around 120 and 130 km per hour. According to our metrics, a score below 100 decibels is excellent, so we can already reveal that the EXO-TECH does not have a top score. Now all that remains is the question, how good is this compared to its competitors? If we look at the competitors, we see that the EXO-TECH is on the lower side. With an average of 103 decibels on the meter, the helmet gets a decent score of 3 stars. What immediately stands out is the AGC Alpha 90S Carbon that received a full 5 stars for its excellent score of 97 decibels. This makes the AGC Alpha 90S Carbon the quietest helmet we have ever measured. Together with the Schubert C5 and the AGV Tour Modular, the AGC Alpha 90S Carbon forms the top 3 quietest modular helmets we have ever measured. Okay, now that we know this, we move on to the next part of the road test, the ventilation. The sensor between the inner liner and the EPS shell measures the temperature inside the helmet. The inside temperature can be seen on the left, on the white display. The thermometer on the phone indicates the outside temperature, which comes from the sensor mounted on our bike. Okay, now with all of that being clear, the question remains, how does the EXO-TECH do in terms of ventilation? Inside the helmet we have a value of 6 degrees Celsius, and on the right of the phone we see that is also the outside temperature. This means that the inside and the outside temperature are the same. Again, the question, what does this result mean compared to its competitors? If we look at the competitors, we see that the showy EXO-TECH 2, the AGV Sport Modular and the Shark Evo GT score the highest. This is because the temperature in all 3 helmets were 1 degree cooler than the temperature outside. Furthermore, all other helmets did excellently, and as with the EXO-TECH, the outside temperature was the same as the temperature inside the helmet. Again, we see the roof boxer ending up at the bottom. This is because the temperature in the helmet was 2 degrees warmer than the outside temperature. We have now arrived at the only subjective part of our road test, what we call comfort, but which is actually so much more than just comfort. In this part of the road test, subjective criteria are assessed such as comfort, wind resistance, the finishes, the overall feel of the helmet, etc. These are criteria that are difficult to capture in hard data, so that's why we rely on the more than 15 years of riding experience of our test rider. Our test rider has also tested all other helmets and can therefore make the comparison like no other on how the EXO-TECH compares to its competitors. Our rider indicated that the liner of the EXO-TECH Carbon was average. The liner felt good and soft, but it lacked the quality materials that you see on a Shoei or a Schubert. He indicated that the model does feel streamlined on the highway and that the helmet also feels particularly light. The finish was solid, but again, not at the level of the strongest contenders. However, our rider indicated that given its visor characteristics, weight, the carbon material and wonderful ventilation, you get a lot of helmet for its price. But to beat the absolute best, there could still be a step made in terms of comfort and inner lining, according to our rider. Our rider has added everything up and gave the EXO-TECH a decent score of 3 stars for its comfort. But how good is this when we look at other helmets? If we line up all the competitors, we see that the EXO-TECH scores quite low. A side note here is that the EXO-TECH is one of the cheapest in this segment. The best in class for this part are the Shoei Neotech 2 and the Schubert C5. Both helmets received the full 5 stars for their comfort. Then we have a number of helmets with also a good score of 4 stars, and this will probably no longer come as a surprise, but at the bottom we have the Roof Boxer with only 2 stars. So, there you have it. We have come to the end of this video. We have seen that the EXO-TECH is equipped with a top visor and good ventilation. The helmet is made of quality material but unfortunately misses out on points because it comes in only 2 shell sizes. Also on comfort, the helmet scored below average. However, if we include the price, the EXO-TECH certainly makes a comeback and it's a worthy competitor in the top segment. All in all, the helmet get a neat champion helmet score of an 8. With this score, the helmet is currently in 5th place in the ranking with its competitors. Do you want to know more about its competitors, or are you curious about the nice discount bundles that we have? Take a look at the helmet in our shop. If you found this video useful, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching. I'm Liv from Champion Helmets and I will see you next time.